Emily, I have your first quiz here, so I'm going to go over some of the questions that you missed. The first one says 4 students graphed one linear function each. Which student graphed a function with a y-intercept of -4? So the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. So as we look at these options here, whoops. As we look at these options here, you're focusing on the y-axis. That's the vertical axis. So this is the y-intercept. Here's the y-intercept of that line. Here's the y-intercept of this line. And there's the y-intercept of that line. Again, it's where the graph crosses the y-axis. So Ellis's graph is the one that shows the line with the y-intercept at -4. This one gives you an equation, y equals -1/20 x plus 10. You're told it represents gallons of gasoline that remain in Michelle's car after she drives so many miles. Which graph represents this equation? So we're going to start with the y-intercept again. In the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, b is the y-intercept. Whatever that number is where the graph will cross the y-axis. This number is the slope. So we're looking for a y-intercept of 10. The first graph has a y-intercept of 10. The second graph has a y-intercept between 10 and 12. It's probably 11, but it's not 10. I'm going to leave this ink here, and I'll come back to it in a second because that first one was the right one. This third graph that you selected has a y-intercept of 12. And the final graph does also have a y-intercept of 10, so now we have to look at the slope because now we can't distinguish between the last one and the first one. So we go back to the first one. The slope is -1/20. All of these lines have negative slope. So in that's we can't rule it out that way. In this one now we're looking, it's gallons of gas for total miles traveled. This slope tells us that for every 1 gallon of gas, she travels 20 miles. So for every 1 gallon of gas used, she travels 20 miles. That means we're going down 1 and over 20. But we have to kind of pay attention to this graph. This graph goes by 2's on the y-axis and it goes by 20's on the x-axis. So if I go down 1, it's not one box, it's not one unit square there on the graph, it's going down 1 gallon of gas, and that's right here at 9. So if I go down 1, I go over and I hit the line. That's 20. So I did, I went down 1 and over 20. Now from 9 I'm going to go down 1 to 8 and I'm going to go over 20 again, and you can see that as I continue going down 1, for every 1 gallon of gas she uses, this graph is showing she is driving 20 miles. So this first one is the correct option. Question 9 says, which linear equation has a slope of 3 and a y-intercept of 2? This is pretty basic in terms of the slope-intercept form of an equation. Again, this is the y-intercept. This is the kind of stuff you should have in your math notebook that's helping you while you take these quizzes. So it has a slope of 3. That means that the 3 is going to be in front of the x. So it's not this one and it's not this one. The y-intercept is -2. We have to be careful back here because the formula is a plus sign. So if you see a subtraction sign, that means that the y-intercept is negative. Our y-intercept is negative, a -2. So we should see y equals 3x, 3 for the slope, minus 2, y-intercept of -2. Question 10, we're told that she graphed the equation below. What is her error? And so when we look at a graph of an equation in slope-intercept form, the very first thing we look at is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is the number at the back of the equation, so it's a +1. So when I look at this immediately, I know that that graph should be here, and it's not. It's up at 3. So it looks to me like she's mixed up the x-intercept and the slope. If we were graphing this, again, we would have started at 1. Our slope is 3. We write it as a fraction, so we're going to go up 3 over 1 or down 3 over 1. I can do that one a couple of times in the positive direction. That's what the line should have looked like. If we look at her slope, Looks like she went down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. So she has got the wrong slope. She has got the wrong y-intercept. She used a slope of 1 and a y-intercept of 3. She had them exactly backwards. So she graphed the slope as the y-intercept and the y-intercept as the slope. This one's not correct because the slope is not 1. The slope is 3. Okay, let's take a look at the next quiz attempt. Estimated cost Y of a child's toy is partially based on the number of batteries. The cost of one battery is 75 cents. The toy itself costs something, I can't read that. Whoops. $12. Which equation represents the situation? In this example, we don't know how many batteries we need, so it's going to be 75 cents per battery. When you hear that per, that's going to be multiplication. That's your x is your independent variable. However many batteries we put in, we have to multiply that by 75 cents. The toy costs $12. That doesn't change no matter how many batteries it's going to take. So that $12 is just on its own. So the correct equation was y equals 0.75x plus 12. Casey correctly graphs a linear function. The slope is -1. The y-intercept is 3. So you did choose a graph that does have a y-intercept of 3, but this slope is positive. I'm not sure if you watched my slope dude video from last week. I hope so, but that should really help you understanding the difference between positive and negative slope and which direction those lines go. So the one you chose is like puff, puff, positive, right? That's from that video of the skier going up the hill. And the correct one, because the slope is negative, should have been nice negative. So I'm saying it just like he does in that video. Question 5, we did this one earlier. Question 6, what is the slope and the y-intercept of the graph? Here's the y-intercept, +1, so no and no. What's the slope? It is negative, so yes and yes. My two options left do both have negative slope. Remember that slope is rise over run, so you need to count how far you go down and then how far you go left or right to get over to the line. So if I go down 1 and I go over 1, 2, 3, 4. I went down 1 over 4, and it is negative. So there's the correct answer. Which statement accurately describes how to determine the y-intercept and the slope from a graph? To define the slope, the y-intercept, you just look at where it crosses the y-axis. To find the y-intercept, begin at the origin, move vertically to the graphed line. Okay, that was correct. That's also what you picked. To find the slope, oh, you have the slope backwards. Slope is always the y's on top, y2 minus y1. The x's on the bottom. Again, in the video portion of this lesson, this would be an expectation that you're writing formulas like this down in your math notebook. You shouldn't miss stuff like this on a quiz because you can use your math notes to help you out. So if you're not taking math notes, you absolutely 100% need to be. If you are taking notes and they're good notes, you can use them on these quizzes. Math notebooks are a tool, so I let my students use them all the time. One, it helps us take better notes, and two, it gives us a reference, right? We always get to use references in life. If I don't know something, I can go look it up. So same with your math notebook. But that formula, you should have that written down. There's y's on top, x's on bottom. At breakfast, a restaurant charges $2 for the first cup of orange juice and $1 for each refill. Which graph represents the situation? So we got to start at $2, right? It's going to cost me $2 no matter what I do. The graph you selected started at 1. It is not $1 to start. It's $2 to start. So we should be either at the second one, either at the third one or the fourth one. So here's the third one and here's the fourth one. And now it says $1 for each refill. So if I get one refill, it should cost me $1 extra. There's an extra $1 for the refill, an extra $1 for the refill. This one is $2 per refill. Okay, that's not what that said. Not every refill is not $2, it's $1. So it should have been this one down here. Adriana writes the equation. Henry writes the equation that has a y-intercept of that is 1 unit lower, but it has the same slope. Okay, so you're again just getting, I think you're getting slope and y-intercept mixed up. If it's got the same slope and there's hers, then it has to either be this one or this one, because that has the same slope. Slope is the number in front of x. It's 2. The y-intercept is 1 unit lower, so subtracting 1 from 4 is 3. And then on the last quiz, I think some of these were kind of repeated questions. Yep, we did that one. We did that one. You got that one all 3 times. The slope of the line is 2. The y-intercept is -6. Which statements accurately describe how to graph? So we're going to go to 0, -6. So you have the y-intercept backwards. The y-intercept is always 0, something, because on a graph you don't go anywhere left and right, which is the x direction. And in this case we're going 0 left or right, and we're going down 6. So there's the ordered pair. It does look like you had the slope right, up 2, right 1, because it is positive slope. So if I started down here, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'll just do a couple dots. You're going to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, because the slope, we always think of it like a fraction. It's the rise over the run. Teacher has a 2-gallon container of juice. She gives each student half a cup. Which equation represents the amount of juice after all students are served? So we start with 32, and we're going to take away a half a cup for each student. 32 should be positive, not negative. We don't start with -32 cups of juice. We're taking away a half a cup each time, so you just had your signs backwards on that. Another way to rewrite this equation is not to just flip these two things around the subtraction sign, but recognize that that minus sign goes with the half, right? I'm taking away a half a cup of juice, and I had 32 cups to start with. Either one of these equations say the exact same thing, but oftentimes you'll see them rewrite it to put that slope term, the mx term, in the front. Okay, this one asks which one graphs correctly 1/2 x minus 2. You're looking for the graph that starts at -2. That's +2. That's +1. There's a -2, and there's a -2. So now we're down to the last two. Remember that the slope was 1/2. That means we're going up 1 and over 2. So if I put a dot here, I need to go up 1, over 2. If I land on the line, it's correct. Up 1, over 2. So there it is. And I'll just show you on this one, if I go up 1 and over 2, oh, I'm not on the line anymore. So this one does not have a slope of 1/2, and that one does. I know that's a lot, and I went really fast. I was trying to get through all of your quizzes on my prep period. So watch this video. If you have questions, reach out, and I will add another retake on your quiz today.